Muted, Coach.
All right, welcome everybody. Great to see you once again virtually. And thanks again all season for your coverage of our Wake Forest football team and all the ups and downs and starts and stops that we've had. Really proud of our all ACC players. This gives us 29 since 2017. We've had 7 or more the last 3 years. And we're our 21 the last 3 years, I believe, is third in the conference. So we're proud of all of our players, but especially guys that are recognized by our coaches and in the media of being the very best at their position in the ACC. Moving ahead, I want to thank Executive Director Danny Morrison, Will Pitts, and the entire staff at the Charlotte Sports Foundation for their partnership. We were supposed to play a game there in September against Notre Dame that got canceled. And then we're going to play the game in December down there that got canceled. And we were destined to play in a Duke's Mayo Bowl game at some point this year against somebody. We thought it would be Notre Dame. And but we're really excited to going back to the Charlotte Bowl sponsored by Duke's Mayonnaise. We're proud of our bowl streak. I think right now we're 12th or 13th in the Power 5 of our bowl streak of 5 games, and we're third in the ACC. And starting our bowl streak in 16 was important. Continuing it in 2020 was important. And I'm proud that we got invited, and I'm proud that our players have made the decision that they want to play in bowl games. Playing in a bowl is a privilege. To be invited to a bowl is a privilege. We don't take it lightly. And again, we're really excited to play in our home state. We're the only ACC school that actually has a campus in Charlotte. So we feel it's somewhat of a home environment for us. And great memories from playing there in 2017 when we had a chance to play Texas A&M. We're very excited to play a really good University of Wisconsin football team. I certainly know Coach Christ a little bit. He was in the ACC for 1 year at Pitt, my first year until going to Wisconsin. But he's done an excellent job with their program. He's hit double-digit wins 4 times. I think they have the 3rd longest bowl streak in the country. He's an excellent football coach, good head coach, excellent offensive strategist. They are really difficult to defend on offense. They run a lot of unique sets. They're extremely physical, and they play keep away. It's very much like playing an option football team. That they lead the country in time of possession. They average 310 pounds up front. They've got a young quarterback that at some point will probably be one of the very, very best quarterbacks in the country in Mertz, that he got off to a really hot start. And this was a highly recruited Elite 11, big time quarterback. And again, their backs are excellent. They've got dynamic receivers. The tight end Ferguson is one of the best tight ends we've seen all year. He's a good blocker, but he's an excellent deep threat. He's actually their leading receiver. On defense, they are physical, they're big, they're stout, and they're the number 1 ranked defense in the country right now. So they don't give up a lot of yards. I think it's about 250 or 260 a game. They only give up 15 points a game. And, this is a team that had some blowouts against good teams. They've lost to 3 ranked teams. They beat a very good improving Minnesota team. And, like I said, Wisconsin is certainly one of the brand names in college football. So it's a great opportunity for our program as we try to continue to establish Wake Forest football as an annual bowl team. And we're going against one of the real iconic brands in the Big Ten. This will be a real challenge for us. This is one of our toughest matchups that we've ever had in a bowl game. And the challenge is defending a physical offense that can run the ball and has a great play action game, a defense that's the number one defense in the country, and they're extremely sound in the kicking game. But we welcome the challenge, and we look forward to playing Wisconsin in 8 days.
And can you walk us through preparation to this point, what your team has done Sunday through today, and then what the next week looks like for you guys in terms of practice, prep, and travel?
Well, so first of all, when our game against Florida State was canceled the day before, we gave our players the weekend off, and we met Sunday. And we didn't know till late, a lot of the Big Ten teams were opting out of bowls. So we really didn't know who we were going to play. And then, the other thing that factored into it was Indiana going to be in a New York Six Bowl. And so a lot of times we have a pretty good idea who we're going to play in the bowl game. This year, we really had none. And so when it got announced that we were playing Wisconsin, we do what football coaches do. Our video guy got all the Wisconsin games. And usually you have 12 or 13 games to watch. This year, it's only 6. So we all kind of went home Sunday or stayed here and started watching film. Yesterday was more like a Sunday. Today was more like a Monday. We're going to meet with the team tonight. The last few days, they've been lifting and conditioning. And we wanted to have some time before we started putting together preliminary game plans. And we'll meet the team tonight and give them an overview of Wisconsin. And then we'll get back on the practice field tomorrow and begin our prep. So we'll practice for 2 or 3 days here, give them a day of walkthrough and meetings, get a couple more practices in before we head down to Charlotte.
Dave, you mentioned earlier the bowl streak. If you had to pinpoint something, is there anything that's been key over these 5 years? I know the schools has been to 4. That was your record last year, and you've added on to that. Is there any one thing that you can be specific about it, maybe why you guys have been so consistent?
Yeah, I just think it goes back to our program is that we've established that as an annual goal. It's really important to our team. And, we know to go to a bowl every year, you have to get 6 wins. I don't think we would have accepted a bowl bid if we were 3-5. I think a lot of the teams that are opting out are teams that don't have winning records. I doubt if we were 3-5. I think in an 8-game season, we're a 500 team, and typically if you're 500 in the ACC, you're going to a bowl. But it is our minimum goal every year. So we know once we hit X amount of wins and we're going to be a bowl team, that's important to our players. And so I think it is an annual goal. I think that's proof that our players enjoy football, that they want to have that extra game and that extra time together. And I think the other key to that is that we don't kill them with bowl prep. We don't over practice them. We try to create some fun activities. It's different than the season. We want it to feel like a reward. And that's more challenging in a COVID year. But we still like to do fun things with them and create an atmosphere that this is something that's a reward that we look forward to. Obviously, we're going to play a football game and we want to win that game. But we want the bowl experience to be enjoyable. So it is something that they want to do every year.
What kind of things can you do that are different that you can still do that are fun for the team this year?
Yeah, I mean, we've had movie nights in our auditorium here, and gotten them candy and movie snacks, and they can sign up, and we're having them. And again, we can only have so many people in the room, and it has to be social distance and wear a mask. But we don't want them to just come here, practice, and go back to their room and be stuck in their room and have to play video games. They've been cooped up enough this year. And again, we're doing things that are within the protocols, that are safe, and we're wearing masks and shields when appropriate. But we also want it to feel like a reward for them. And so we'll do little activities and play games after practice and have these little side competitions. And We'll try to get them a really nice Christmas meal, and just have them look forward to something every day other than we're going to go meet and practice and that's it. It's
Dave,
more challenging this year though than ever.
Dave, about their defense and leading the country, everything, what maybe scares you the most, or what have you seen on film? Because they're pretty big up front, like you mentioned, on defense.
They are. They're really big. I mean, their nose tackle's probably 330 pounds. Their one defensive end is 6'7", 290, 300. I'm really impressed with their two inside linebackers. These guys are physical downhill guys. They don't miss tackles. They're just so fundamentally sound as a defense. And I would say the same thing, that you put the Wisconsin tape on and it looks like a group that enjoys playing football. They're physical, they're fundamentally sound, they're extremely well coached. Their scheme is well thought out. Their defensive coordinator has a great reputation. He played at Wisconsin, he played in the NFL, and you watch the film and you can see why people speak so highly of him. So it's a really good scheme. Players have bought in, and they're a really, really good fundamental football team. And not every team is. These guys, their eyes are in the right place. They fit the run game the way they should. The guys are in correct gaps. They use their hands. They get off of blocks. This is going to be a tough game. And their offense helps their defense. Their offensive numbers don't jump out at you in terms of yards, but they allow the defense to be good because they keep the ball for 37 minutes a game. So I think their time of possession is 36-45. It's number one in the country. So when your defense is only averaging 55, 56 plays a game, number one, you stay fresh, you don't get injured as much, and it allows you to have really good defensive numbers. So it's very much their entire approach to football as a program that allows them to excel the way they do.
Hey, speaking to that, does that make it even more important for your game plan to be cohesive in terms of your offensive game plan and your defensive game plan? Because if you go in there and have a couple of quick 3 and outs where you only take 1 minute off the clock, your defense is going to be gassed and it'll be halftime before you know it.
Thanks for the way to pump me up, Les. Yeah, that's always a concern whenever you play, an Army, or you play, when we used to play, BC with their style of offense, that there's just so much pressure on every possession on offense, because if you go 3 and out, you don't know when you're going to get the ball back. And at the same time, that's not our style. That whenever we've tried to slow it down here and change our style, it never works out. We tried that last year at Clemson and it backfires. So they have a style of football in a way that works for them. We have a style of football that's worked for us. And so this is really, we're probably as polar opposite in terms of our approach. But we're in different areas of the country. We have different weather. We have different recruiting bases. And I think what they do fits their program and what we do fits our program.
Dave,
Coach,
Jeff Patricus from the Journal-Sentinel in Wisconsin here. Both teams have had to deal with COVID issues in terms of games being postponed, canceled. I know what it's done to Wisconsin. Have you guys ever gotten into a rhythm this year? I know you had that 4-game winning streak, but how difficult has it been to juggle and for the guys to start, stop, pause, and have some uncertainty?
It's been very challenging. I know Wisconsin had to, they played a game and then they canceled 2 or 3, and then they played one, and then I think Minnesota canceled on them. And it's just been start and stop. It's been very hard to get into a rhythm. We didn't play for 4 weeks, and then we were excited we were going to play 2 weeks in a row. So we'll have ended up playing only 2 games from November 1st till the end of the year. So
Coach, with
a lot of practice.
With everything you guys have been through this season, what are you most proud of when you look back on all of it as you approach the finale here with the bowl game?
I'm proud that 95 or 96% of our team stuck together and decided to finish this thing. We've had a couple of opt-outs, but very few. And I just think the resolve and the commitment that they made to each other when they came back in July, the percentage of players that lived that commitment till the very end, I'm very proud of. So this year, and I told our team this, typically you measure the success of a season by wins and losses, what bowl, where are you ranked. I think for 2020, there's a lot of other measuring sticks for what was a good season other than just wins and losses. And in that way, I'm proud of our team. Now the wins and losses are very important. The games are still played. They still kept score, and there's still wins and losses and a column and standings. But the fact that we're still going 6 months into this and the commitment level across the board in our program, I'm just really proud of how they've handled everything.
Dave, I believe you interviewed with Barry Alvarez back in 2012. Can you share your memories from that? I mean, did you have any history with Barry? How'd you think the interview went? I'm sure you had done your homework on Wisconsin. Can you kind of just revisit that, if you will?
That's a great memory. I think it was December of 2012, and I was the head coach at Bowling Green. And Barry, and I believe it was Sean Frazier, who's now the athletic director at Northern Illinois, and the faculty athletic rep, that they flew to Toledo. And I drove from Bowling Green to Toledo and met them in a conference room and interviewed for probably 4 or 5 hours. And, I thought it went well. Obviously it didn't go that well. They ended up hiring Coach Anderson from Utah State. But the thing that I remember about it is at the time, Matt Campbell was the head coach at Toledo. And we used to recruit against Toledo a lot. So there was all these rumors that Barry flew to Toledo to interview Matt Campbell, which I thought was great because it helped us recruiting against them. So I was completely off the radar in terms of our recruiting. And I think Matt was in Idaho at the time getting ready for a bowl game. And yet, all these people were asking him, is he going to stay at Toledo or is he going to Wisconsin? So that's what I remember. But I was really impressed with Barry. His love of the Wisconsin program, how much he identified with it, how important it was to him. It just oozed in the interview of what Wisconsin football meant to him, the program, the tradition. And I learned a lot from Barry just in that interview. I mean, I found myself in that interview taking notes and doing things that I said, regardless of whether I get this job or not, I've learned a lot today. And, again, Coach Anderson didn't last there long, and Paul is the best guy for that job. I mean, he went to Wisconsin, played there. He's from Wisconsin. So I think it worked out really well in the long run for Wisconsin, and I could not be happier with how things worked out for me and my family. But, I thought it was a great job. It was a great opportunity, and I really enjoyed spending time with Barry and Sean. And sometimes you walk out of interviews and maybe people aren't on the same page. Those people knew exactly what they were looking for and what the program was about, and that they were very clearly aligned.
Dave, you mentioned earlier that you were proud of the players for deciding to play in a bowl game. Did this come down to a vote, or what was the decision made there, and how did that play out in the last few days?
Well, I asked the captains, and then on the day that we were about to get invited, we had a team meeting. I think it was the day when Florida State was canceled. And I just said, listen, all the feedback I've gotten is that you guys want to play in a bowl. I hope you still feel that way, but if you don't, let me know. And it was almost unanimous, that, and especially among the seniors and the leadership of the team, that they said, we didn't do all this work to play 8 games. We don't want our last game to be Louisville. And, again, unlike Boston College, who their last game was December 5th, we knew we were probably going to be playing on the 28th or the 30th. So, we're not asking our players to stay here for another month. It almost rolls into just another normal game week in terms of their time and their commitment level. And, the players enjoy getting the bowl gear. They enjoy getting the bowl gifts. And it was really important for our players that they wanted to play a name brand team. I think in bowl games, you want to be challenged. When we played Texas A&M, that was a big deal. And to get a team like Wisconsin that we have great respect for and we know is a traditional power, that's a big deal to our players, especially, since we didn't get the opportunity to play Notre Dame or Miami late in the year.
Dave, you mentioned earlier about, the guys have been off campus in their hotel rooms and everything, and now they have to be here in Winston for Christmas. I mean, how hard has that been for them, just being in their own rooms and not even being on campus?
I don't think it, John, usually, like you mentioned earlier, this is our 5th straight bowl. So our players are used to being here now. It's not like this is new. Any player that's ever been in our program has spent Christmas here, with the exception of the Birmingham Bowl, which was, I think, a day or two before Christmas. And typically we move our players into hotels because campus shuts down, so they can't stay in their residence hall. So in terms of bowls, this is just life as normal.
And
Coach,
Now, we can't take them out to
restaurants.
restaurants. We can't take them bowling. We can't take them to a movie theater. What we do after practice is different. But in terms of the football experience and how they're living in the meals, that's really the same as it's been the last 3-4 years.
Coach, with everything that's gone on with the program, especially the Florida State game being canceled, how hungry would you say your guys are to play a game and excited they are to play in this bowl game?
Just very hungry. I think there's a little bit of anxiety of, I hope this one doesn't get canceled too. I think it felt really good to see the announcement, to see it on the ticker, Wake versus Wisconsin, December 30th. They know there's an end date. And we're very optimistic, and we hope we can do our part, that we can play the game. And I'm sure Wisconsin is making all the efforts they can to play the game. But I think there's a little bit of relief that, hey, we're hopefully going to play one more game, but this is the last time that we have to go through this process in 2020. I think our players have been tested between 50 and 60 times.
Dave, how about injury-wise, football related? I mean, Donovan, you said Mayo would have been able to play against Florida State. Is he still?
He'll be good to go. He would have been able to play against. He would have been able to play against Florida State, but he's healthier now. Jasir Taylor would not have been able to play at Florida State. He's going to be healthy. This will be the healthiest team that we have since early in the year. That's what happens when you play one game in 2 months. And obviously Boogie won't play, which is a move that we completely support. Really, I've said it over and over, but how he handled this year was first class. And, he's put himself in a great position, and he's still recovering from COVID, and we completely support what he's doing. And he handled himself the right way with this all year.
Dave, will you and the staff get some time off after the bowl game?
Yes. Yeah, and I think this has been, Dave, 6 straight months, and I think we've had 1 day off. So this is, and again, sometimes we're usually playing them, but we've had, bye weeks and guys can go home for weekends or for preparation for the bowl. This is about as long nonstop as we've ever worked. And this is the 13th game that we've game planned for. So we game planned for Miami, Duke, Notre Dame, and Florida State. So this is game 13, and we're anxious to put a game plan on the field again.
Is it a little easier though, like you mentioned, with they've only played 6 games though, to kind of scout?
No, because the whole process of breaking down an opponent and game planning is very time consuming. A lot of detail work. You know, our work as coaches is the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is when we do the majority of our work. Those are the 14, 16-hour days. And once we walk off the practice field Wednesday, the game plan is pretty much done. At that point, it's review. And so when Notre Dame cancels on a Wednesday, you know, it doesn't really save us work. The work was already done for them. So, you know, I think even for the coaches that they know, hey, this is the last one either way. So let's do the very best job we can. Let's try to go win a bowl championship, and let's put everything into it. And December 31st, we'll get a nice little break there and be able to spend time with our families. And I think we all need some recovery after this year.
Dave, you talked about injuries, and thanks for that information. And I know you don't want to jinx yourself either, but how's the team looking in terms of COVID protocols and those types of things? Are you relatively clean on that right now?
Yeah, we're pretty clean. We're not perfectly clean, but we're probably in as good a shape as we've been since the Virginia Tech. So, well, you know, a lot of it, you know, again, is just the contact tracing. But we'll have probably as many people at practice tomorrow as we've had in, you know, since our initial break in November.
Dave, what do schedules look like for players after the bowl game? They finally get to go home?
Yes. Yep. They're going to go home after the bowl. And because Wake Forest has pushed back the start of the second semester, it's actually going to be the biggest break they've ever gotten. You know, usually after the bowl, they're back in 2 weeks because we start classes January 11th, January 12th. Because classes don't start till late January, this will be the longest break they've had post-bowl to the second semester ever. And I think they're looking forward to that. And I want them to be away long enough that they're looking forward to come back. And we've shared that with them. Hey, this has been long, but you're going to have the longest break you've ever had. And let's push through and finish this thing the right way. And then we'll all leave you alone for about 2 or 3 weeks.
Anything else, guys?
Yeah, Coach, sorry if you've already answered this, but with the news of Boogie declaring for the NFL draft, just in your
I'm on a
words.
press conference. Just put that up. You can hang that up outside my door. Sorry about that.
No problem. In
Hey, Lauren,
your words,
why is your camera not on? This is
because
I like to see faces when I answer questions.
I know my work
Eddie, you should
computer
have yours
doesn't
on
have
too.
and my work computer doesn't have a webcam, so I apologize.
Evan, you're usually on TV, Evan. There's no excuse.
I was holding a baby for a portion of the call, Dave.
That's okay. We're a family-friendly media football program.
So, Coach, with Boogie declaring for the draft, in your words, what is an NFL team getting if they pick Boogie?
A physical, dynamic, high motor, high energy player who loves football. Somebody who will add to the locker room, and somebody who already prepares like a pro.
Thank you.
Anything else?